Have you ever wondered how clothes are mass produced? I'm sure it seems very, very complicated, and it is actually complicated, but there are very many ways of doing it, and in today's video I'm going to tackle the different ways people do produce their ready-to-wear clothes and things to consider. So this specific video, it's going to be about things to consider when getting into ready-to-wear, but for this whole month I am going to take you through my journey in doing my ready-to-wear collection my way, so that maybe you'll get a few tips and tricks on how to produce yours. So welcome to this month and welcome to the series. In Kenya, I would say that most people in fashion, specifically people who create their own designs or create designs, specifically do custom made or made to measure. So because of that, people usually think ready to wear means just tripling and doubling, or just taking what you already do and just making the size that you think. But that's not how it is at all. There's a whole process to it. So I thought it would be wiser to do this video in slide form. They have done previous videos, so that you can be able to capture it, have notes, and I'll do voiceovers just so that you can be able to save the notes and screenshots, because I feel like if I do talk like this, it might be hard for you to continue following through. So I decided I'm going to do it in slide form for easier follow through. So I guess we will start with the first slide, and I will see you at the end of this video.
I would highly recommend starting with market research, because you need to get information to see if what you even want to make is wanted in the market. So some of the things you need to consider are where your target audience are, where are they based, who are your competitors, basically someone doing something similar to what you want to bring into the market, what is trending, because this could actually influence what you end up making. Who is leading in the market is also very important, because maybe there's a strategy they are doing that you want to consider, or there is something they are not doing that you might want to fill the gap in. What influences your customers to purchase is also very important. You need to know why they buy the product. Consumer attitude towards a product you want to launch and what sets you apart is very important. That means you probably have to do a survey or something, or a focus group. It's a good way to do market research. Is there demand for what you are launching? Maybe consider ensuring that there's a demand for it. What is your unique selling opportunity? What are you going to do that the others are not doing? And what is the price range you are targeting? That will also inform you on where your target audience are and how you're going to approach them. So these are very important. I've not exhausted everything, but something worth considering. For qualifications, specifically, I would mean your qualifications as the business owner. What you're bringing to the table is something you need to consider, because it means that there are very many things you cannot do that you might need to hire people to do. So if you have a fashion design background, then there are very many things you could do yourself, because this is your first run. And if you aren't, then you might need to hire somebody to be able to do it. So there are very many things like pattern drafting that need to be considered. Just designing collections also need to be considered. Sewing, of course, needs to be considered. So for someone like me, I tend to do these first three processes by myself before I outsource to somebody else. But most of the time, I still do the patterns myself. Mostly for me, it's a way of cutting costs, because I can't afford to hire somebody, but also it helps me really understand my process to the point that if I do outsource, I can be able to give feedback and make the necessary changes. So just this list here is just going to help you think through the kind of people you would hire. it could be permanent, it could be temporary. It just depends on the need. Some patterns you only need them once, and maybe you just keep maybe refreshing them on new paper, but maybe you only want to launch one thing and never diversify into other things. So those are things to consider as well. Closely tied to the qualifications point is the teams point. So this is basically considering who you will work with, and that's specifically who you will hire, basically your teams. So there are things you need to think about when you are going to build teams, because building teams is actually a process, but people treat it like an event. It's actually a process. Even when you are looking for someone to hire, you have to make sure that they gel with the others. It's not always so much about talent, it's also about rapport and just generally the vibe in the company. So you also have to have the positive impact on the people who you are hiring to work for you, because they also have to respect you, not because they fear you, but because they respect who you are as a person. So even if I know the people who have the most difficult time are the people who own fashion businesses and cannot sew, and sometimes it's very difficult to get the respect of tailors or people who have a skill that you don't, because they just think you do not know what you're doing. So building a team is very crucial, even just for the whole morale of how you will run your business and how you will operate your business. So I hope these points also help you think about the general overview of that. Distribution. This is basically how to get your products to the customer. I will not lie, I'm also still trying to figure this out, because sometimes you get distribution and then it works, and then sometimes you have to change because it stopped working, or it's just a process and it is affected by very many various factors. But I just wanted to highlight the 3 types of distribution. Direct selling, where you just sell directly to your customer. Mostly people do this online, or if they have their own shop. There is selling through intermediaries, meaning selling to other wholesalers or retailers, and then there is the dual distribution, where you do both. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's distribution. It sounds easy in this summary, but it is very hard to figure out. Yeah. Having a pre-sale strategy is important. This is even before you actually have customers. So the beauty of doing this is that you can be able to get feedback on your product even before you launch it, meaning that you could have a focus group where you ask people what they think about your product. You can map out a plan on how you want to reach your customers even before you have even the budget. It actually helps you come up with a budget. It will help you even just promote your product. You can use all those social media facilities like Q&As, having countdown session just to create hype. You could even have pre-orders. Pre-orders is probably one of the best pre-sale strategies you could have, because you're actually getting people to pay for something even before you've launched it. Yeah, so it's a good way to gauge interest. So pre-sale strategy is a very good thing to spend time on, so that you don't spend all your money on producing a lot of things and they don't sell. Yeah. Finances usually are the biggest hurdle for even getting into the ready-to-wear space, because you need a lot of money for so many of the processes. So in this specific clip, I am just giving you ideas on how you can raise money, because you need a lot of it. You can bootstrap, meaning that you could just go with your savings and just start and just keep financing as you go along. That is one of the wisest ways and hardest ways, but one of the wisest ways, because you'll actually see if your business is actually going somewhere if you bootstrap. Sometimes when you pour too much money into your business before you have, you're very, very sure that it's going to do well, you could end up wasting a lot of money. So bootstrapping is hard, but it's also good. Crowdfunding is also a very good way. If you can be able to manage to convince people to pay, because mostly it comes with pre-selling, people to pay for the product before you have even launched it. That's also a very good way of gauging if people really want your product. and also get feedback almost immediately as well after you have sent to the first people you crowdfunded with. Investors is also good, although you do lose some percentage of your company. There are also things like business incubators and accelerators where they basically work with you through your business journey and how you're trying to set it up. And they will give you funding. Sometimes they have investors in those accelerators and incubators. So that's actually how you get funding. Contests are awesome. It might be a good stroke to your ego, but it's a good way to get. If you get prize money that can fund your business, why not? Although not all contests give you money, but you could get machinery you need, or I guess even visibility that you need. Loans are the trickiest ones, especially if you don't have proof of concept. But if you need to finance maybe a new idea for your business, then it's not a. If you have the records to show that you can pay back the loan, then it's very good. So you can even just have a strategy of just being just pre-selling and just seeing if it's even worth getting into in the first place. So in this clip, I've gone a bit more in-depth in explaining, so I'm sure there are other options. Yeah, but these are the ones I'll share for now. The whole point of this video is about production. So production is the process of just combining materials, basically inputs, and immaterial inputs in order to make something that people will buy. And there's a lot of things to consider when you are producing or basically mass producing for fashion items, which is sourcing of fabric. Is it good quality? Do you want the cheap one? How far is it from you? The transport costs. Developing samples is also part of production. You need to fit the sample. This sample is usually made of a cheaper fabric than even the fabric you're going to use to produce. And then the pre-production sample is on. Now you use the expensive fabric and everything that you wanted to put in it. And then after that, you produce the run. Basically, it's called a production run. You do it and then you check the timelines. How long did it take you? You check the finishings and you think about packing options, because I know we think about packaging to our customers, but if you are sending things to a shop, you need to consider how you're going to package that as well. So this is just in a nutshell production and the things you should consider when you're thinking about that whole process. And that you can see compared to what we've done in the previous points, this does take a big chunk of time, and also a big chunk of money, but you also need to build the teams, to think about how you're going to market everything. So all those things actually just build up to this. Before you do this, it's better to know all the other things I've mentioned before. I know seeing the made to order here as a point for ready to wear might be a bit strange, but there are people who use the made to order method to be able to gauge if they should mass produce something for the ready to wear space. An example is just having a collection and letting people order from that collection, and then you mass produce the most popular outfit because maybe it moves fast, and then you'll also have the data of seeing which sizes tend to move more and things like that. Or just doing made to order based on what people like ordering, and then reproducing the most popular outfit for ready to wear. So it's actually just a very good way to reduce your costs. If you don't have the budget to do a big run for your ready to wear, this is actually another way you can consider getting into that space. Outsourcing, for this one I'll mention it in passing because I covered it a lot in the May series, so please do check that out. The benefits of outsourcing, the primary ones of course are cutting costs, production costs, and also the speed to market, because you've basically hired experts to do something for you that they're good at doing, probably even better than you'll be able to train someone in good time to do. So the speed to market is because they will probably try and mitigate majority of the mistakes because of their quality control checks. So do check out last month's video where I go a bit more into depth and pros and cons of having your own team versus outsourcing. Pricing is basically what you'll get after all these processes you've done to be able to produce this thing. And the truth is that there are people who wait until they factor in every single thing and then come up with a price. And then there are people who work backwards, start with the price they'd want to sell the thing at, and then work backwards to reduce all their costs to make sure it meets the price that they want. Apart from that, I've listed here how people basically do pricing, where you do cost plus pricing, where you just calculate everything and then mark it up, competitive prices, etc. Price based on your competition. Price skimming, where you set a high price and then lower it as the market evolves. Penetration price, where you do a low price and then enter to enter competitive market and then raise it later. And then value-based pricing, which is basically what you deserve to be paid for the work you've done. So everyone wants to be in value-based pricing, but sometimes it's not always ideal. You could be in a market where some certain items have a fixed price and you can't do anything about it. So yeah, these are things you should consider when you're doing your pricing. Lastly, we will look at marketing. This is the action or business of promoting and selling your products or service, which includes market research and advertising and everything. So there are things that people consider there are places where it's a 4 P's, 5 P's, 7 P's. I decided to go with the 4 P's. So here you think about your product, and this is basically what you're offering to the customers. You need to think about that way before you're even coming up with a marketing strategy. The price, of course, we've just touched on price. How you're going to promote this. I usually like to believe that you can start promoting your product even before you've made it, because you could share your process or highlight your process basically as a way of promoting. Maybe you just want to show how ethical you are, or you only source the best fabric, or that you don't have a lot of waste. There's so many other things like that. And then place where you're going to sell it. You need to think about where you'll sell it, because if you have produced a whole bunch of things and you don't know where you're going to take them, which is basically distribution, you might find that you'll just have you might not have any space in your workshop or in your house because you produced without thinking about where you're going to sell. So marketing thinks about all these things. Yeah.
So that's the end of this video. I really did try to capture as much as possible in this specific video, and I know probably there's some things I've skipped. It always happens after I have finished recording and doing everything is when I remember things that I had left out, but I am sure I will probably get into some of these things more as the weeks progress, because I will be physically showing you my work as I'm working. And for next week, it will be more about inspiration, how I came up with the designs, how I decided on them, and everything like that. So watch out for that next week. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Welcome new followers, and please do like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and I appreciate all of you. Bye.